Good morning, Amy Jacobson here, John Anthony,
Hey.
for Dan Proft while he's playing the Merit Club, hopefully not embarrassing the family and hitting the balls long and straight, if you know what I mean. The Olympics are coming up. Are you a big Olympics fan? Do you go?
I am.
Do you watch?
Yes.
Have it on all the time
Yes,
in
I
the
love
household?
Olympics.
Do you like summer or winter better?
Summer, especially track and field.
Oh, I know. Isn't it
I
great?
did it as a kid, so.
Oh, what was your? Did you do the 400, the 100?
I did the 200.
relay?
Well, because you remember they had the 50 meters too as a kid. You do the 50 meters, 100
That's
meters.
right.
I did 50, 100, and 200.
Wow.
And I won a few of them. I was pretty fast. Not anymore.
Now you run only if you're being chased.
Run, please.
That's not
No.
gonna happen.
I do run walk at this Lake Shaman Wood down there where I work out at every morning.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And you're keeping it real. You've lost some weight. Is
I
that
have.
offensive or should I not say
And you know
that?
what? I can get in pants again. I can wear shirts I hadn't worn in years. And then the side, I mean, I'm still trying to work on the gut, but right in here. What is this called right here, Amy? Down here.
What?
Right in here. What is? I don't know what that part's called.
It's your midsection?
But you can see that where it's trimmed down. I'm like, yes, I'm winning.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And taking balance of nature.
And,
Well,
hey, I got my 2 jars right here.
there you
Balance of
go.
nature.
I know. I was without it for a few days and I noticed a difference.
Yeah, it's
I'm
good.
never doing that again. When I go on vacation, I'm going to pack a to-go bag of balance of nature, that's for sure. All right, well, back to the matter at hand. This year in Paris, they're trying to go green by denying athletes air conditioning.
Right.
So with that, we welcome back to the program Steve Milloy, founder of junkscience.com, member of President Trump's EPA transition team, and author of Scare Pollution, Why and How to Fix the EPA. Good morning, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning, Amy and John.
Good morning.
So walk us through this process of going green by banning air conditioning from the athletes' living quarters.
Well, as nutty as we are in the U.S. about climate hoax, the Europeans are worse. And the Parisian Olympic organizers thought that they would be, really green by building athletic dorms without air conditioning. They thought that they would just, cool the rooms by running pipes with cool water on, underneath the floor. Of course, that doesn't really work. And of course, countries like the United States, medal hungry, look at the Olympics as a chance to, win prestigious gold medals. They don't want their athletes to suffer. They want their athletes to be in top physical shape. So the U.S. and other wealthy countries are bringing portable air conditioners for their athletes to have in their rooms. And of course, other countries, poor countries, can't do that. The president of the Ugandan Olympic Committee, for example, said that we just can't. We don't have deep pockets. We can't afford that. So you have this situation. I call it air conditioning apartheid, where these wealthy country athletes will have air conditioning. They'll be nice and cool, but the poor country athletes won't. And it's. The hypocrisy, of course, is unreal because it's these Western countries, these rich Western countries that are beating up the rest of the world about climate. They don't want the poor countries to develop their natural resources. They don't want them to use fossil fuels. But here they are bringing their emissions, creating air conditioning to the Olympics.
Well, how much emissions would they be cutting down by not running or having air conditioning?
Of course, the whole.
I mean, did anybody do where's the science and data on that, Steve?
Well, of course, but no one even talks about that. It's ridiculous. Even if the Paris Olympics didn't exist, even if France didn't exist, even if the United States didn't exist, it would hardly make a difference to atmospheric carbon dioxide concentrations, even if those had anything to do with temperature anyway. So, China is burning coal like there's no tomorrow, and it's just, that's all the emissions are in the developing world, especially in Asia, India, and China.
Yeah, I've actually had the opportunity to go into a coal mine, and as they were talking, as an elected official, and they were talking to us about all these regulations that come down from the EPA. How will the Chevron decision affect what has happened? And how they go about creating new regulations for these different energy companies. Because when I was state rep, I had the largest imprint of energy almost, I believe they said in the United States of America, I had 3 nuke plants, I had plastic, I had coal, I had it all in my district.
Yeah.
But how would that affect, that Chevron decision affect their ability to regulate without congressional oversight?
Yeah, so I used to work in the coal industry myself. So there have been now 2 Supreme Court decisions which are really going to constrain EPA's ability to continue its war against the coal industry. The first one happened 2 years ago. It's West Virginia versus EPA. There, the Supreme Court held that EPA cannot do things unless specifically authorized by Congress. 2 weeks ago, there was a decision in Chevron. Well, it was a Supreme Court decision, local enterprises, to overturn Chevron, which is what you mentioned. And in that case, the Supreme Court held that EPA cannot make up what the law is. There was a 1984 case called Chevron versus NRDC, and that case held that where there's ambiguity in the law, judges have to defer to the agencies on the interpretation. But that case is now gone. So EPA must stick with the law, and if they get sued, then the judges don't have to defer to EPA in court. So between those 2 decisions, I mean, EPA is between a rock and a hard place. Now, if Donald Trump wins his second term, then EPA is going to be between a rock and 2 hard places.
Yeah, because it definitely needs reform. And, I mean, I'm on Twitter. You see all of the hoopla now about Project 2025, which is not President Trump's agenda. Agenda 47
this is propaganda.
Correct. Agenda 47 is Trump's agenda as it relates to that. My question to you, and I posed this question on social media, and I got mixed reactions. But which is worse, the Green New Deal or Project 2025?
Look, Project 2025 is just bringing good government back to government. Project 25 is just regulatory reform, which all Republicans are for. I know the left is trying to attack the Heritage Foundation. Project 2025 is kind of crazy. Even my wife has been kind of worried about it because she doesn't really know much about it. I showed her the headline, the Washington Post headline from the day Trump had been convicted.
Yeah.
Of 34 felony counts, and he is more popular.
Yes.
This effort to attack heritage in Project 2025 is going to fail because there's no merits to it. I mean, our government is out of control. Everybody knows that. Yeah. Joe Biden has been out of control. Barack Obama was out of control. Donald Trump brought sanity back to government, and then that was reversed when Biden became president again. So, we're hopefully going back into a period of sanity. And, Project 2025 doesn't have any special influence over the Trump campaign. It's just one group out there. There are other groups that have plans, but they're all conservative plans for reforming government and bringing back constitutional government.
Yeah, I've read all 922 pages of Project 2025. I really did. I'm that geek. I was a policy wonk. I love policy. When I love to get into the minutia as it relates to policy. And what I gather from reading all 922 pages of this report, and then they're ideas. It isn't something that Trump's going to implement. But what I gathered from it, if you love democracy, you support the Green New Deal. But if you want to restore the republic, this is a guide to do so. Now, there's some things in there I don't agree with, but saying that people are going to be forced into marriage, I didn't see any of that in Project 2025. But these other people who are in love with the sounds of democracy but don't want the constitutional republic restored. That's what I gather from it. I don't know about, what say you, sir?
Well, the left only likes democracy as long as they can marshal enough votes, so they can implement their totalitarian ideas. I mean, they're not for democracy. What's so democratic about Joe Biden or anything he's done? I mean, who voted to kill the coal industry, for example? And when you killed the coal industry, I mean, you destroyed, not only did you kill 50,000 high-paying jobs, but you destroyed their communities and you destroyed all the other support jobs. I mean, who voted for that? Nobody. Right. Okay? So we're trying to bring constitutional government back to America instead of the out-of-control nonsense of agencies like EPA. The Supreme Court has made 2 important decisions. Hopefully, voters will recognize that Donald Trump will, improve the country by improving government, reforming government.
Amen.
So, as a member of President Trump's EPA transition team, what are you in charge of? What are your responsibilities?
Well, there's no transition team yet. I was on the 2016 transition team, but I hope to have some some say in what goes on in the future. And we want to bring EPA. I work on science issues, so I want to bring better science to EPA. Or actually, not. I want to bring science that's not fraud to EPA.
Right.
EPA right now it's just chock full of fraudulent science. The whole climate hoax, for example. Now with these tools, West Virginia versus EPA, which I mentioned in the Chevron decision, that it's going to make it a lot easier for people to go to court and get EPA to adhere to the letter of the law.
You mean things like the trap water debacle, basically water on your land? I mean, EPA was literally going after people for that.
So that's a great example. That's where EPA has this sort of Chevron deference, where it's unclear how far EPA can regulate water on land, and so the court came up with its own test, and it was all nonsense.
Yeah.
I mean, Congress needs to specify the limits of EPA's regulatory authority
Because they set the rules.
Yeah, and so this is actually, it's a boost for democracy because it's, under our Constitution, Congress is supposed to tell the agencies what to do, not just sort of give them vague direction and let them do what they want.
Yep.
All right. Well, Steve Milloy, founder of junkscience.com, member of President Trump's EPA transition team in 2016. And we hope you'll have that role again.
Yeah, go
and
Trump.
he's an author of Scare Pollution, Why and How to Fix the EPA. Thank you so much, Steve, for joining us. We appreciate
Thanks for having me.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently